Hello and welcome back to What the Flag. Again, the three of us are all over the world, but we are so excited to get to come together to talk all about flag football. Now, last week was one of the biggest holidays, I would say, in the US. And Yaz, you had your first ever 4th of July experience. Talk to the people, tell us what that meant.
So it was great. It was so I guess you never really know what to expect going into like a 4th of July holiday. I will say I think it was very American in the sense of like everything was like bigger and louder than anything like you're ever prepared for. So the highlight was definitely the fireworks. I know that sounds so like, oh, that there was more going on. There was, but the fireworks were absolutely great. It was a real sort of like surreal moment. We were sat down, we were literally just by the mall, and we were just, oh, or the mall. I don't know how it's said. But we
Just
literally just
living in
sat
DC.
yeah, you know. And the fireworks started, and they were the biggest and loudest fireworks I've ever seen or heard in my life. I've never heard the fireworks explode with such vim before in my life. So we watched that for about half an hour, and then you walk down into central DC, and then they had set up like a stage, and then obviously they set it up without a backdrop, so you look through it and like you can see the capitals all lit up in the background. And we went, and there it was like they'd set out all the seats, and it was meant to be like a concert, and during the day they'd had loads of like different people singing. And then in the evening they brought out Jeremiah for like the headline act.
Okay.
And apart from that one song which everybody knows, I don't know if it's PG enough to mention what song it is on the podcast. You guys know what song I'm talking
Love it
about.
though.
Yeah, you know what song I'm talking about. He obviously sung that one, but then you don't realize how many other songs he'd been on, and he sung them all. His dances were absolutely incredible. They were so good. And the energy was unmatched. I think he definitely sort of under anticipated how hot it was because he came out, he had like a full, like bedazzled, like do-rag. It was like full of crystals. He had like a
Blessing will be jealous. Our guy, producer Blessing, would be jealous of that.
honestly, bless him, we'll have to find one for you and we'll have to bring it back. He had like an oversized top on. He had like jeans with the most rips in I've ever seen in my life. He looked like every inch a celebrity, and he literally walked out on stage and just started like dripping with sweat. Then he was basically like peeling his clothes off like during the show without trying to look like.
PG, peeling his clothes off. Right? There we
Oh
go.
yeah,
I was right with you because I think you posted a picture of it, but there's a picture you had where it's just a poster, I think, and it looked like Diddy, and I was just like,
Oh.
is no, no. But thank you for clarifying who that was, and
You're
yeah, yeah,
welcome. You're
the
welcome.
the
Yeah, yeah.
it
We
was it
that
was
wasn't who was
sweat
going to
induced
promise.
taking off of the clothes, not nothing else in it. Oh, that
And
sounds cool.
it
I
was
love
so cool. It
And I
was
love that talking off air, you were saying about how the fireworks are different in the US to the UK. Is that right?
like it just feels like if you so the best way I could describe it is like the New Year's fireworks at home, and it's so choreographed, and there's like special music that goes with it, and they've really thought about like like when everything's happening. This was like someone was just running around with a lighter just lighting everything. It was bang, 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 bang. The only ones that were choreographed is there were fireworks that exploded and did like USA, and they were the only ones that seemed to be like choreographed. Apart from that, it was basically like this one, this one, this one, this one. Because I thought, according to like the Fox News article, it was meant to be about 45-minute show. That was over in like 15 minutes. So if someone got really, really happy and was like, woo!
All of them now. Just press the, yeah, yeah.
They
Oh
were
dear
very, very
me.
good though. They were very, very good. And then, of course, like you don't, I don't think you get this anywhere else. So we're sat down, we're watching the fireworks, and then there's just this guy. I've got a picture of it. There's just this guy with like the American flag like on his back, just like running up and down, like literally singing the national anthem just on the road. Like, and I was like, you can't write this stuff. Like,
No, love
it
America.
really happened.
That's wild.
That's
I
It
so
was
love the fact that so many celebrate. Independence Day because it got me thinking around like it always makes me smile a little when our British compatriots like when they send messages of like Happy Independence Day to all my friends, and I'm like, do we really know what we're celebrating? What they're celebrating? But
Oh,
it's super cool. I think it's great. Was there pank? What's the food? What's the food situation? Because I'm like, it's America. It's 4th of July. What is the food situation?
I won't lie, there wasn't like many food options in terms of like I thought there might be like street vendors and stuff like that. But actually when we got into town it was quite quiet. It was busier than we'd seen it before, but it wasn't I was expecting like hordes of people. I mean, we just went to IHOP, so by the time we went out, we went to a club which was great. And then it was about half past 12. We were like, oh, come on then, let's go home. And then when we went to go and get the car, we were like, kind of hungry. Should we go and get pancakes? So we actually just ended up in IHOP, and it was the first time that we'd seen the 24-hour IHOP actually doing like proper table service. So I guess maybe that was special. I don't know. So, but so I just got a stack of pancakes at like 2 in the morning, which was really nice, and that was a great way to finish
Yeah.
off
Tell
Fourth of
us, tell us
July.
you play on the line without telling us you play on the line. Yeah.
Yes, stack
Pancakes
of
at 2
pancakes.
a.m.
Yeah.
absolute winner.
That sounds amazing.
And then, and I know you weren't out at Capitol Bowl, which happens in Paris every year, but I know you've been out scouting, and congratulations to the winners on the men's and women's side, both French teams representing women's, the
Yeah.
Molossus taking it home. Those are our girls. Those are like my second family out there. And on the men's team, a team that I personally hadn't heard much about, but again, French representing. They are
Yeah.
a team, a
So
force to reckon with.
I think they call them the Holy Toots. I couldn't work out it was a bit of a mishmash of people. You know how, one of the best things about flag is the fact that you can just kind of play in a way it's kind of like pickup where you just like pick players. But I mean the standard looked great. Unfortunately, there's always it seems like it always it's early July, weather should be good, but I think it got rained out the second day, so it was real tough conditions to play in. But no, it's always good to see football being played and a fairly decent slash high standard. So the French collective, it without any disrespect to anyone, it kind of feels like they just came out of nowhere. But now, like, you know, genuine contenders, and I think the European Championships this year are going to be like very interesting, very interesting, especially like in the I think we spoke about it before. Like we talk about the women's side a lot, but the men's flag is so competitive, and there's so much scope for change. Like each and every competition, it's going to be interesting to see how especially the IFAF rankings, which everyone keeps an eye on because of the Olympics, to see how the rankings change and are affected in especially in Europe. But then also there was the drama in in Canada, and well, I say in Canada, in LA with the Canada men's team and the US team. Um, I saw this clip. I cannot remember the name of the show now, which is really bad. But I saw this clip where the guys, it was a Canadian kind of sports podcast show. I think it's a flag podcast show. Um, they were saying, so rumor mill slightly, but they were saying that the US men's coaches were asking like the Canadian head coach, like if he's new to flag, if he's been coaching flag, they didn't know who he was. And to then have that kind of situation and then lose that game. Now still I'm not going all in the kind of Canada beat USA. Yes, they did on paper, but I think it's that time of year where um, we're still working out who's going to play and still finalizing teams, and maybe not everyone's the starter or there's a lot of rotations going on. But um, I don't know, there's a small part of me that's also like, hey, if you want to play in the World Championship finals and rotate your offensive players to defense and your defense players to offense, you're saying we're able to beat the world like played either side of the ball. So it's very awkward, and I'm mildly enjoying it. A little. I have to be honest, just a little.
You have to enjoy those games where like the number one competitor all of a sudden maybe isn't the number one anymore. Like I think that's the most exciting thing, like going into any sport is just knowing that you never really know who could win.
Yeah,
Like I think that's what keeps people on their toes. I think if the USA were just blowing everyone out all the way through, I think it would be kind of by the time you get around to, something like the Olympics, you'd be a bit like, oh well, the USA is probably going to take it. Like, like basketball, for example, like
Yeah.
until Serbia came up and, showed them a little something something, we just assumed that they were
Mm.
gonna win. But, when a team sort of steps up like that and, goes to another side of the sport to sort of get their coaches and it makes it very, very interesting watching. So those rankings are definitely going to be interesting when they land.
Yeah, and you look at the Canada's head coach. I mean, he is newly appointed, Paul LaPolice, but he's a 20 plus year CFL coach, two-time Grey Cup winner. I mean, those are huge achievements. And it's fascinating to see, to your point, Yaz, where, okay, flag teams are and countries are starting to see how do we give ourselves that edge. And look, USA, I know Bruce Mapp wasn't playing, he was injured. I don't necessarily think that USA were ready for what Canada delivered because they have athletes. You have a lot more tackle players playing now. Last weekend at Capital Bowl, our GB women's receiver for tackle, Jess Anderson, playing flag out there. Even for our GB men's and, kind of all over, they're bringing a lot more tackle players. What does that mean when it comes to coaches? You're bringing in, everyone thought, oh, you can't have a tackle player, a tackle coach coming and coaching flag. Well, a lot of CFL is motions, it's speed at the line, it's, kind of smoke and mirrors in a lot of ways, which ties really beautifully into flag football and that creativity. We've seen a lot of motions throughout flag football for a while now and shifting. I always think about you know, Big Mike with SIG, the Staten Island Giants, he'll do full on like college shifts with his playbook where you've got everyone lined up in a straight line behind the center and then everyone shifts together. He plays around with it a lot. And a lot of these youth teams do. And for me, I think a lot of our learning should be coming from watching these youth teams because these coaches are coaching week in and week out. They're getting more flag football game experience than any other football coach out there because they have the most amount of opportunities to play and they travel all around. I mean, I think for anybody, next week or the ESPN NFL flag football championships in Ohio, that's going to be absolutely endless amounts of ideas and opportunities to steal from because you're going to learn so much from what these coaches and players are doing to be creative to make sure that you're competing at the highest level possible. So I think it's fantastic. I love that you're bringing in a tackle coach for Canada. I think it's going to be super interesting to see what that means for the other countries. What could happen? Would USA is a perfect example, right? Is that going to be an NFL coach that comes in then? Because you're going to have NFL players. How
Yeah.
does that look
I would just like to
internationally?
say, absolutely, Matt, you might have to go back and dig. I don't know how long ago, 3 months, 4 months ago, absolutely
But
called
when we
it.
first started and you mentioned this,
Yeah,
we
Canada
were
have
about starting
absolutely
five,
just, yeah, they've just laid the roadmap for the US to bring in NFL head coaches
which is why
to
it's
take that team.
alien to me that when you obviously said that you'd seen that interview about, them not really having much of an idea that they were going to bring in a CFL coach, like surely long term that's your plan. So how did you not think that
But is it?
someone else?
I honestly don't believe it is. For the coaches in USA football, same as the players, I don't think, and I fully understand it. I don't think any of them would be willing to accept that, hey, I'm going to do this job, but cometh the time, cometh, the pinnacle of the sport, like we're going to have to step aside and let someone else in. So I fully, firmly believe for those coaches and players, none of them are even contemplate, well, contemplating, but not expecting or not wanting. They're not prepared to step aside, when the time comes. But it is a bit of naivety not to have an idea of who you're facing, and but
Yeah.
it does feed into the narrative around we're the best in the world, we'll beat whoever's in front of us, we don't care. Because you mentioned the CFL being a big deal. I don't think many, or this is a yes type generalization here about Americans, but I don't know. I don't
Yes.
know. I don't know how much the CFL is respected in the States, right? I don't know how much the play because I think the immediate notion is, well, if you're good enough, you'd be in the league, you'd be in the NFL, or you'd be in a US college rather than in a Canadian college. Um, so there is that. I don't want to say arrogance because I think that puts a negative connotation to it, but there is that definite sense around as the US, we're the best. I heard some speeches that I won't reference now, but I heard some speeches from the US team at the World Championships that was around like the gold medal is ours to lose kind of thing. And they went and won them both. So serves me right. But it's a very interesting narrative, an interesting sense of self-talk, that they've had within. That I think the rest of the world is just like, no, no, no. Like we are here. We're not just coming. We are here. So I don't know. It's
Do you
gonna be
think that's a
fun.
cultural thing though? Like, I feel like American sports in general, like in sports in general, whenever, you come across a US team, I always feel like they're very heavy on the self-talk, self-confidence before they enter a game. They kind of feel like they've won before they've,
So can I ask you this, yes?
yeah.
Right? And you're, 'cause I think you're literally living it now. I've experienced it. Phoebe's experienced it. Like, how much of it is fake? How much of it do you think is a real belief? How much of it is faking it because that's what you're supposed to do? That's what.
I think for a lot of players that I've played with, it's legit. Like they they carry a certain confidence with them where it's like, who do these other people think they are? I I think that that generally seems to be like a mantra. Do all players play like that? No.
Mm.
But generally I think a high amount of the team do believe like that they've won this game. And I think sometimes it can lead to like complacency because then I
Mhm.
think it makes the losses so much harder because they've spent their whole time in the lead up being like, we've won it. We've won.
That's
So
super interesting. Like, because I operate, and so as maybe as someone who's coached against the US teams or whatever, like I come at it from the complete opposite end of the scale, and I'm like, the only reason you need to reassure or reassert that, especially vocally, is out of fear. Like if you're not afraid, if you're someone in my mind who is truly confident doesn't need to say it, right? But then that's why it is always interesting where it's just like, why do you feel the need to say and reiterate and over and over, we're the best? Like,
is that the difference between being like someone who's played on a British team versus someone who's played on like an American team? I feel like with an American team, it's just like it's a given. You kind of expect that behavior. I think like playing on a British team, I feel like everything's a lot more conservative. Like we could win this game.
first of all,
We've got the
I'm not
ability.
I'm Nigerian, so I don't know what you're talking about. Second,
All right, Mr. One-handed catch. Yes,
I'm
yes. You weren't
I'm
saying, "Oh,
holding
I'm
out. Listen,
Nigerian" when he sent a video the other day.
I've got
He sent
people
a video
watching
like,
me.
"Look at me and my highlight reel." Yeah, yeah.
No, no, no. I just sometimes people need to be reminded. People forget easily. They
I
forget
mean, I
that,
was looking at the pass pro personally. I was looking at the pass pro of your O line. If your O line didn't do the pass pro as well as they did,
we're not be your, I didn't take anything away from anyone else. I'm just like, look, it worked. But yeah, people need to mind. No, no, no. I think it will be interesting to see if that narrative of self-talk changes, especially first loss in 8 years. I mean, it's still not that bad, really and truly. I don't know if it was an actual tournament or if they treated it more as a friendly. So I don't know if there was a. I didn't see it. I can't recall there being like a trophy or Canada winning. So I don't know if it was a final or if it was just a game in
yeah.
part of what they were doing. But I think I'm looking forward to seeing how that narrative does it stay the same, does it change, and will we carry on with that? But I'm fairly sure all those coaches will be researching everyone they're playing against
God,
now,
yeah.
just in
So
case.
then, question for you then: Do you think sort of like I know we've spoken about them being very different sports in that sense, but do you think there's more of a benefit to having that influx from tackle than there is to sort of like cons to having like that influx from tackle? Do you think tackle football could help like benefit and grow flag, or do you think it would be more of a hindrance because
One
to be blended in sports?
150%. And you say cons of having tackle players coming into flag. The only, well, yeah, I'm saying it. The only people that have a real issue are, I call them gatekeepers, right? People that kind of don't want potentially better athletes coming in and taking their places. They're the ones that, in my opinion, that have a real major problem. It's all the semantics around, oh, they didn't care about flag till it was in the Olympics. But yeah, okay, cool. Like I didn't care. I don't think of a good example there, but sometimes things come up because it's their time, right? And that's what puts it in front of people as a potential avenue. So NFL players were never thinking of playing flag till it became an Olympic sport. And then it's like, I can represent my country at the Olympics. Flag becomes viable, right? Why would you? The only people that would want to stop them doing that are those who are kind of already there, who are teacher pilots, who are the big fish in a small pond, because the pool of flag players, even globally right now, as much as it's growing and growing rapidly, it's a small pool. If you add and make the potential for all the tackle players to come in, that pool increases and it decreases just naturally, just on a numbers, situation. It decreases the chance that current flag players have to play. Same goes for coaches. So that's why I'm trying to keep as many passports as I can alive to make sure I can, if I need to chop and change, depending on, I'm looking out for which NFL coaches are Nigerian or trying to take. Yeah, no, I'm joking. But it's just important to. I think it's important to welcome everyone. The more you can make the sport open, the more chance you have of getting high quality
Mhm.
athletes, coaches, knowledge, expertise in. Um, and so it's not quite a segue because I was thinking about it. Like, if an NFL coach was to watch a flag practice, a current flag practice, if
Mhm.
you think about the speed, accuracy, um, technical expertise that they're used to seeing,
Mhm.
and they see some things in flag, it's just like that's not good enough. They can help to increase that standard, right? So it's like, yeah, it's one thing we always say for it's good to get out there and see how people move, how it's because sometimes you don't realize what people are able to do till you see them cut on a dime or go up. Like there was a kid, ball is thrown like it's got to be 20 feet in the air. I'm exaggerating, but it was up there. And this kid just goes up. It's like, why can you jump like that? But it's not. So you realize people can go up there. It's I think it's difficult to visualize for people. So no, the more the merrier. Like yeah, bring them on, bring them on. I don't really think it's a con. Really, I really don't. I think it's pros and yeah,
Well, and if you stick with that iron sharpens iron mentality, you've got
Yeah.
expertise from coaching, from playing, more experience, the decision making, if that's what we're really looking at, if you're saying it's the average quarterback is making a decision within like 2 to 2.5 seconds within flag football. And if you've got that and you've got someone that's used to reading defenses years and years, like nobody's going to have as much experience as somebody who's in the NFL, the CFL, in terms of that everyday practice, that everyday reading defenses or, vice versa. If you're on defense and you're reacting to offenses, I think you can't take away from that. But it just makes it all really fascinating because I do think that people, and I get it, right? Like at one point I'm going to be beat out of my position, hopefully, right? And I know that's going to be by somebody who's hopefully more athletic and younger and all those good things. It doesn't mean it's a nice feeling because you think, oh, well, I've been sacrificing so much for so long. You think you get it to a certain point and hey, the Olympics are only a couple of years away, but actually it makes our sport so much better. And these young people are so much better than we could have ever have imagined that we have to celebrate and encourage that. I mean, same for our on the guy side, it's the same exact situation. People are coming in from other sports. I went and saw netball the other night for the first time. The London Pulse won versus Loughborough. And I was like, oh my gosh, these girls need to come play some flag football because their agility, their quick decision making, like all of it is just phenomenal. So, and anybody that's listening to this doesn't know what netball is, you have to look it up. It is basketball without a hoop. It's without like a backboard. It's amazing. It's amazing. So,
Can't move either. You can't. You can only
and
get
you
down
can't
by
move. Yeah.
passing the ball.
Yeah. I gave a miniature description there of what netball is. It's
Find
just
yourself on netball TikTok. Change your world.
Really?
Netball TikTok.
Yeah, I don't
Say.
know how I ended up there, but it is a great, great, great,
Was
great
that
hobby.
that was
I
the
am
rabbit
now
hole you chose
10 out
that
of 10.
night? That was a
Well, before we go down another rabbit hole, we are going to wrap things up. So thank you so much, Kenny. Yes, feel better. We know you're poorly, but you brought the juice, you brought the energy for us today. So we appreciate you. And to everyone else at home, make sure one, you follow Miss Yaz as she goes into the semifinals this weekend with her team. But as always, like, subscribe, ring the bell, and we will see you all soon.